This is our October pledge for October 12th, 2020, which is today. Today is Monday, October 12th. It is the first day of the second quarter. So one quarter is done. This is our second quarter. And if you know fractions, another name for quarter is 1/4. So if 1/4 of the year is done, how many fourths are left? That's a math question that I'd like you to think about. Today we will say the pledge, we'll sing the song, learn why today is a special day, review some important reminders, and celebrate our raffle winners. Let's start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's say our otter pledge. I am a member of the Terrace family. I act responsibly. I behave respectfully. I care for all. Now we're going to sing our otter song. Sing along if you'd like. Ready? Ooh, oh the water, living high above the bay. At our Terrace elementary, comes to school every day. He's our mascot, caring mascot, part of the OT family. He protects us, he respects us, he's a friend to you and me. Odo's kind and Odo's helpful, Odo's neat as he can be. He accepts us, won't reject us, Odo water from the sea. Here's to Odo, Odo water, he's a pal to big and small. We're all otters from our Terrace, and he loves us one and all. Thank you for singing along. I'm sure some of you were singing beautifully at home. And some of you aren't at home. Some of you might be at Terrace or at Highland or Boys and Girls Club. So thank you for singing along, even though there might be other kids at other schools around you. So today's a special day because it's called Indigenous Peoples Day. Indigenous Peoples Day is the day every year that we honor people who have lived here on this land in North America long before, and whose ancestors lived here long before some other people's ancestors came. For example, my ancestors came from my family, like my great, 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 great grandparents. They came here where we call the United States a couple hundred years ago in the 1800s. But there were people who lived here long, long, long before that. And some people call them Indians. Some people call them Native Americans. But we like to now use the term indigenous people. And indigenous people just means people who were native to an area. And many indigenous people are still here today, live here in Monterey and in other parts of North America. So Indigenous Peoples Day is to celebrate the lives and the cultures of the people whose ancestors lived in North America. And you can see that there are different ways to celebrate. Some people have dances and play music. And more recently, there have been a lot of people who have protested, who have basically gone out and said, hey, we want more people to celebrate today as Indigenous Peoples Day. So let's take a look at a video of some Indigenous people. Some people are young, some people are old, but they all want to celebrate and share a little bit about what Indigenous People Day means to them.
I'm in the process of kind of discovering.
Hold on, I'm gonna fix one thing so we don't, I think this will work okay. Let's try it again.
To me, being Indigenous is something I'm... To me, being Indigenous is something I'm in the process of kind of discovering and exploring.
As a Métis woman.
An Anishinaabe person.
As an Ojibwe woman.
An Anishinaabe person.
As Aboriginal people of North America.
If you look at all our great leaders, Sitting Bull, Tecumseh, those guys weren't complacent people.
Our people have been able to adapt, and in the face of colonialism, has been able to bounce back and be resilient.
Residential schools,
60s scoop,
genocide.
I'm in a generation where we're kind of rebranding what people perceive Indigenous to be.
We are all human. It's true. We're all the same. Be like one with the land, one with creation.
Being Indigenous means that we have community.
We're reclaiming our destiny, we're reclaiming our identity.
To show that we can be leaders, that we can take pride in who we are.
I celebrate my indigeneity with everything that I do, from the connection to the land.
Who I am makes me Indigenous.
To be Indigenous, it's complex. It's not an easy answer, and it's
not always like going to powwows and dancing.
Even though we're all different and we all have our own histories and stories and traditions, is that we have a lot of things in common too.
Anything we do today and learn today has an effect on this next 7 generations to come. So for me, being Indigenous is just one of those things that is very important, that as Aboriginal people of North America, wherever a tribal affiliation belongs, wherever it comes from, we all have that ability and that responsibility to share in many different ways our Indigenous knowledge. So for me, that's what Indigenous means.
All right, so that man who spoke at the very end used a term that is also used besides Indigenous. He used the word Aboriginal, and Aboriginal is the same thing. It means people who were Aboriginal has the word original, people who were originally living on a land before other people came. And I also want to say that Indigenous or Aboriginal people aren't just people that lived in North America or lived in where the United States is. They can be anywhere around the world, the original people. And there are a lot of Indigenous people who lived at the southern part of North America, around where Mexico is, and all the way into South America. And many of you, students at Terrace, many of your families might have ancestors who are people who were alive before you. Those are your ancestors who might have been Indigenous. So you might want to talk to your parents and ask them about that and see if maybe you have Indigenous people who were in your family. Okay, so I'm going to show you Monterey. The Indigenous people, the Native Americans who lived in Monterey, many of their ancestors are still here and still live in the Monterey area, but many of them do not, because back when people came and took over where we live, a lot of the Indigenous people who were alive then, they ended up dying for different reasons, diseases and other things, which is really sad. And it reminds us of why we need to always make sure that if we meet new people, and we need to get to know them and learn about them and find ways to respect them. And so that's something that we've learned from our history. People who lived here before lived in groups that we can call tribes. And if you think of the people that lived here as a larger group, we call them Ohlone. But there were smaller groups, smaller tribes, and the ones that live probably where you live in Seaside, Monterey, or Marina, they were in the Rumsen tribe, or the Mutsun tribe, or the Esselen tribe, and they all spoke different languages too. So if you can imagine, lots of people living really close to each other, speaking different languages, but they all learned how to get along and live together, and they all had different cultures that were celebrated. And one thing that I like to do every day is think about how grateful I am that I'm able to live here in such a beautiful area, which is the land where originally these tribes lived. And I think it's really important for us to remember that our families, unless your family is originally from the Monterey area hundreds of years ago, almost every single one of us, our families came here, moved here to this area, which was an area originally inhabited by these tribes. So it's really important that we remember that, and that we are grateful for the fact that we can live here. All right. So I really encourage you to maybe if you are in third, fourth, or fifth grade, you can do a little bit more research about the tribes in this area. In fact, third grade is when you're supposed to start learning about this stuff. So if you're in third grade, that would be a really good research project for you to work on. I want you all to think about how you can learn more about the history of where we live in Monterey, no matter what age you are. Maybe just going to a museum and wearing a mask, of course, if a museum is open, and other ways. You can look on the internet. There's lots of stuff on the internet. All right, so I have some reminders that I want to remind all of you. This is our second quarter. So our second quarter has 3 months: October, November, and December. And those pink boxes are days where we don't have any school. Now, we never have school on Sunday or on Saturday, so I didn't make those pink, but we never have school in those days. But I made the weekdays pink that we don't have school. So there's lots of days where we don't have school, which means the days where we do have school, you need to make it your absolute best day. Every day, try your absolute best. Here in the green is where we have conferences. This is where your parents are going to meet with your teacher, and your teacher is going to talk about how you're doing in school, and you are going to tell your parents how you're doing in school. Each and every one of you during conferences is going to have an opportunity to reflect on how well you're doing towards your goals and what you'd like to work on to get better at. So let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks until conferences. And that's 24 school days. So I want you to think, how can I, during those 24 school days, really do my absolute best so when I get my report card and when your parents meet with your teacher, you can show that you've made growth. All right. Also, in December, we're going to do iReady again, and that's another way to show growth. You took iReady in September, we're going to take it again in October and see how well you grew. So I want you to really try your best because we don't have a lot of time in the second quarter, which is nice because it's nice to have these breaks. We get Thanksgiving week off, we get Veterans Day off, and then we have our 2 weeks for winter. But the days you are in school, I want you to be doing your absolute best. Here's some reminders about computers. Make sure you plug your computer in every night before you go to bed because sometimes the computers run out of power in the middle of lessons and you don't want that. Also, teachers are going to learn very, very soon how to do this, but I want to remind students that teachers can actually monitor what you're doing on the computer. So if you're doing things you're not supposed to do, make sure you stop doing those things. And when you are in class, you need to be only doing the things your teacher tells you to do because your teacher can actually see if you're doing things you shouldn't do, like looking at YouTube videos or other things. And teachers, some teachers know how to do that, and the rest of the teachers are going to learn how to do that this week. So just want to remind everybody that you need to be responsible when you're using your computer. Also, if your computer breaks, please call the school and make an appointment with Miss Leffler to get your computer replaced and get a different computer, okay? When you turn off your computer, use the power button. I know a lot of you take your computers and close them to turn them off, and that's okay. But at least once every day, you need to press the power button with your finger to turn it off. And remember, to turn it off, you press the power button and you hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and then it'll turn off. But don't do it now. But when you are done with your computer at the end of the day, turn it off that way. That way, when you turn it back on, if there's any updates, it will update and it will also run faster. Also, don't open a lot of tabs that you're not using. I just talked about how we can see what you're doing on your computer. So only have tabs open that you need. Make sure you have your cameras on. There is an option now where you can add a background blur in Google Meets. So if you don't want people to see anybody behind you, just turn on the background blur and the problem is fixed. Also, I want you to make sure you're sitting up during class. I don't want to see students, when I go into classrooms, I don't want to see students lying down like this. All right, make sure you're sitting up. Doesn't matter where you're at in your house. You might be at a table, you might be at a desk, you might be sitting on the floor, you might be sitting on a bed. Any of those places are fine, but you need to be sitting up, okay? Also, I want to remind you that bullying is never acceptable, and bullying sometimes happens even on the computer. So we need to make sure that no matter what happens, we are responsible and respectful. You need to use kind words. One thing I've always heard adults say is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's true on the internet. If you can't think of a nice thing to say to somebody or a respectful thing, don't say it. The thing about the internet too is that once you put it on the internet, it's always there. So if you say something mean to somebody, there's a way that somebody could come back and find that mean comment. So please make sure that everything you do is kind and follows our ABCs. And if you ever see anybody being bullied, please be an upstander and let me know right away. I'm very proud of the students who have told me when things have happened. There have been some incidents that have happened where some kids were being bullied, and I'm so proud of the students who reported it right away so we could try to get it to stop. Sometimes things happen on the internet that we can't really stop. So sometimes what you have to do is you have to do your best to ignore it, but you always need to let me know so I can try to stop it. Now, just a reminder, we are still in a pandemic. Coronavirus still exists, so we need to always remember to wash our hands. And when you're washing your hands, wash it long enough so that when you sing the ABC song, your hands are all clean. So you put the soap on your hands, put your hands under water, and you start singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? And that's how long you should be washing your hands so that you get all of the little nooks and crannies. Also, make sure when you're outside with other people, you stay 6 feet away from them. And you always need to wear your mask when you're outside in public, especially when you're near people. And anytime you go into a restaurant or into a store, you must have a mask on. Make sure it covers your mouth and your nose. Some people wear their mask on their mouth. Well, that's not effective because guess where air goes in and out sometimes? Your nose. So it needs to cover your nose and your mouth. Also, if you are around other people who you don't live with, you need to have your mask on. Even if they're people in your family, if they don't live with you, if they're not with you every day, you must wear a mask because that's how the coronavirus is being spread is sometimes when people are around other family members who they don't live with, and those family members go around with other people, and they need to make sure that they're being safe. I went and visited my parents during the October break, but I had to wear a mask when I was around them, and they had to wear a mask in front of me. I couldn't even give them a hug because I don't live with them. I don't live with my parents. So to keep them safe and to keep me safe, we all wore masks. Okay, I want to congratulate all the students who used iReady and Learning A to Z over break. So many of you spent your break doing those programs. I am so proud of you. I wish I could tell all the names of the kids who did it, but it was so many kids, it would take me too long. So in this week's parent newsletter, in this week's Otter Talk, I will have all the names of those students, so you might see your name on that. But I did choose kids to win the raffle for this week. And these are students, all of these students had a very, very high level of use of iReady Reading, iReady Math, or Learning A to Z. These were some of the top students. So congratulations to our raffle winners on the screen: Sahori Campos Torres, Rosabella Hernandez, Avery Williams, Sateki Lawi, Jayleni Mejia Reyes, Melissa Martinez Geronimo, Emily Jen Cruz, Jason Vasquez Luna, Phoebe Gambon Rosiles, Paulette Bernardino Vasquez, and Clarissa Rivera. Congratulations. You will have a prize delivered to your house sometime this week. I'm still catching up with the prizes from the last time, so if you still haven't gotten your prize, I'll be coming by this week to give you your prize. Okay? Congratulations. And I want everybody to keep up the good work. Keep using iReady. iReady Math, 45 minutes a week. iReady Reading, 45 minutes a week. And Learning A to Z, read at least 5 books. And make sure you take the quizzes, and don't take the quiz until you feel you can do a good job. Reread the book over and over until you're ready for that quiz. Okay? Remember, if you need help, your teacher might ask to meet with you between 12:30 and 2:30. And you can also reach out and talk to your teacher between 12:30 and 2:30. So make sure, if you don't know how to get in touch with your teacher when you need help after class, make sure you ask your teacher so that you know how. Lastly, just like we did last time, I always like to transition between activities with a little mindfulness. And mindfulness helps us calm down, focus our brains, and get ready for learning. So let's do square breathing, and then our pledge will be done.
Square breathing. With your back straight and body relaxed, let your arms hang by your side if you're standing. Or if you're sitting, rest your hands on your knees. Now we're going to silently count to 4 as we breathe. Follow the picture on your screen and breathe in as the arrow moves up one side of the square. Hold your breath at the top. Breathe out as the arrow moves down the other side, and hold your breath again at the bottom. Okay, starting on one side of the square. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out all the way, 3, 4, and hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. Keep going, sinking your breath to the arrow. Breathe out and hold. Breathe in and hold. Breathe out and hold. Breathe in and keep going while you follow the arrow on your screen. If you'd like to keep going, keep pressing repeat. Now let's go back to breathing naturally. You can put your hand on your tummy or over your heart to feel your breath move in and out. Remember, you can always do square breathing whenever you need help to focus or calm down.
All right. And what I love about square breathing is I can imagine a square in my head. I can even make a square with my fingers, and I can just breathe like that, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, breathe out 2, 3, 4. Right? So I can even do it. I don't need the video to do it. I can also put my hands on my stomach and do the same thing. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. All right. I do that when I'm feeling anxious, nervous, upset, angry, things like that. Have a wonderful week. I am so proud of every single one of you. I hope you had a great break, and I hope that you are ready to have a wonderful quarter. I will see you in class. Bye.